Hey y'all, welcome to Off the Beaten Path. My name is Cush.
My name is Breezy. On our podcast, we explore the great outdoors and the Second Amendment with a blend of culture,
comedy, and conversation. And oh yeah,
I'm making beats.
That's always great.
We might have the
best intro for the podcast.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's good.
All right, so this is, I'm not going to put an episode number to this, but I do want to welcome our guest, Kenia Link. Guys, y'all know me. My name is Cush. Y'all know Breezy. You see his beautiful hands down there. But we have a very amazing guest, and I'm excited to have her on.
Truly.
So we know a little bit about you, but Kenia, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Kenia Link. It's good to meet you all. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. I am from Wisconsin. We were just joking around before we started recording how different the weather is where I am compared to where these two are at.
Yeah.
I'm way up north in Wisconsin by Lake Superior. I'm a big outdoors girl. I love hunting and fishing, and I actually get to do that every day in my career too. At my job at IOTR, which is the International Order of Teddy Roosevelt, where we fight for hunting and fishing rights across the country. So, day in and day out, when I'm not hunting and fishing, I'm fighting for protecting it. So it's a win-win for me, and I love it. So I'm happy to be on this show. I think we'll definitely have lots to talk about together.
That's awesome. Now,
you kind of official, right? Even if you don't know anything about it, that just sounds official. Like it's.
Well, I was just about to say it just absolutely does. It's it's a really good. That's like your elevator pitch, right? So you did touch on a few things that I definitely want to dive into, but the first thing I want to talk about is you are a woman in the outdoor space. And we've said it several times. Our goal is to bridge the gap and put a face to the minority population that exists in our space. And most people make the correct assumption that it is about race, but it's also about gender. And women, by far, in the outdoor space is the largest underrepresented demo. How did you get into the outdoors, and was it something you've always known as even as a little girl, or was it something that evolved over time?
Yeah, so I guess starting off, the way I got involved is in my family. My dad's a huge hunter, huge outdoorsman. That's truly his passion is hunting and fishing. And so
see her background, y'all.
I'm in kind of his his trophy room, as we call it. He's a big hunter, so I've been really excited, to grow up following his footsteps. And with that being said, I didn't have to. I didn't necessarily need to. He taught me how, and he brought me along, as a young girl at actually age 4 is the first photo memory that I have. I don't really remember it, but I was bear hunting with him in northern Wisconsin, and
Wow.
and being a girly girl, but also an outdoorsy tomboy type, as they say. I had my little handbag full of lip gloss while I was in the woods with him, trying to get a big black bear. So that's kind of a funny backstory. One of my first, hunting memories. But yeah, to answer your question, I've really been hunting and fishing my whole life, since as long as I could remember. And when I was little, it was just, normal, and it was part of everyday life. But the older I got, I started to, get more into it. I wanted to know how to be really good at it, and, the right gear to have to be really good at it. And, I wanted to get more into it as I got older, and I started to care more about sort of the the political side of it the older I got. And then, kind of like the fundamental, human nature that hunting has, that all became really relevant to me as I got older, and really interesting over time. So it's just kind of evolved. And I grew up with my dad, but also with my grandparents and my sisters.
Were they outdoors people too?
Yes,
Wow.
they were. They were, and they're actually both of my grandparents on both sides of the family are still around, and I still get to hunt and fish with them sometimes. So,
Wow. That's
I'm pretty
awesome.
fortunate at age I'm at age 25, I'm aging myself, I'm putting it out there, but yeah, at age 25, I'm pretty lucky to have both of my grandparents to go out with, and my brothers both hunt too, and they're younger than me. They're 17, they're twins, so we get competitive
Wow.
once in a while, but,
Yeah.
yeah, and then my
Excellent.
little sister too, she's a big hunter as well. She's 20, yeah, 20, so, yeah, we have fun with it. We
That's
really
awesome.
do.
So now I know you said your first memory is right around the time you were 4 years old and you were carrying your lip gloss and barefoot. How
And a
old were
Yep.
you when you first harvested an animal?
Yeah, so I was 7 years old when I shot my first animal,
Wow.
and I was actually up in Michigan. I think the mount might be over there somewhere, I don't know, but,
It's
I
like
was
it's
up
over
in
in the corner over
Michigan.
there. What was it? What was the first? What was
It
your
was
first
in
hunt you were on?
It was in Michigan, and it was a, Russian wild boar is what they call it. That's the actual species name, and they I don't know if you know much about the pig populations and the boar populations, but once they start, they get out of hand, and so
Yeah.
at age 7 in my life, they were, like, really crazy bad up there, so we went up to, I think, the UP of Michigan, I wanna say. Maybe not, though. Somewhere in Michigan, for sure, but we went and hunted one, and it was huge. I mean, it was bigger than me, and maybe I'll send you guys a picture and you can put it with
Yeah.
this podcast or something, but it's a pretty cool picture, and, the memory was just great. We were sitting in a blind, and it was cold, lots of snow was on the ground, and I was with my dad and then a friend of his, and yeah, we basically waited for one to come in, and I got one, and it was the most exciting day ever when at age 7, when it came in, and I shot it, and then I learned how to, clean it out and butcher it and, get it
So you
all.
you did get to process the meat too?
Yeah, yep, we
Oh,
processed
that's
it all,
awesome.
and actually within that same day, we brought it back to camp and cooked it up in spaghetti. We made really yummy meatballs. It was
Wow,
so good.
man,
Literally the best spaghetti I've ever had. So,
that
it's
sounds amazing.
definitely a memory that
Uh,
that I take with me when I go hunt
So
day in
it's
and day out.
fair to say that your background, your loving grandparents, they all essentially fan the flames to your outdoor fire, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and hearing you talk about this the boar species, I know they're invasive, or maybe that's not the right word, but they definitely like populate very quickly.
Yeah.
My wife's family is from Texas, and right now in Texas there's a massive boar issue. Is it
Oh,
fair to
yeah.
say that that particular instance may have planted the seed for you for conservation?
Yeah, I think so. I think that that's probably, the start of it, for sure, and especially having that moment with my dad and him being so passionate about it too, and then, being able to tell the story to more people, when we got home, and to tell it to my grandparents and to tell it to my mom. It's just all about the camaraderie for me a lot of the time when it comes to, whether you're at camp, telling stories about hunting and, the experience. I think sharing that experience and talking about that experience, really helped light that fire too.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Speaking of fires,
go ahead.
Breezy,
Yes, I have something cooking up over here, but I'm like, I have
hold
something.
on, real quick, real quick. Play what you're cooking up, bro.
It's just a piece of a sample.
So just play the sample.
It's just. You acted so naive.
Okay.
I thought I'd take it out on you. You acted so naive.
So by the end of this, he'll have that into a beat.
Love
People
that.
don't believe me when I say he can produce
Speaking of
really
hunting and
good.
cooking and harvesting, you know what I'm saying? I'm over here doing a bit of that myself. But
I love
I
it.
have a funny story I'm not going to tell right now. I was probably 9 or 10, and I was dove hunting with my dad about an hour away from us. And I'm just trying to think of myself at that age and what I was thinking about holding this gun. And I could
No,
only imagine you.
You got to tell the story. You got
I
to tell the
could
story.
real okay. All right.
Hey, prepare
You
the
know
sound
this
effects.
story.
Prepare the sound effects.
So my dad was, I imagine, very safe. He was hunter, fisher, outdoor badass. Just like it was a thing of beauty to watch him throw a cast net when we were fishing. Just he just was like this outdoor ninja. Tennessee Tim. And there was this plot of land that's about an hour north of us, Okeechobee, Florida. It's basically a hunting lease. Guys that they get together. We go out there depending on the season. Happened to be dove season. And I guess I had shown enough promise that he gave me like my own. That was my first time. Like I wasn't just tagging along. He gave me a gun. We're sitting there. He's briefing me on like how it's going to go down. All right, son, listen, there's guys over here. There's guys over there. You're going to hear some gunshots. That means probably there's some doves coming through. So just be ready. And I'm there, that's my dad. I want to like show him that I can do this. I got sitting there on my shotgun, just waiting. And sure enough, boom, we hear some shots go off. All right, boy, get ready. And I'm like sitting there, and here comes the doves, and I pull up, boom, and I hit one, and I saw him fall down, and I'm like so excited. I'm like, oh my God. We're like running over there to find this dove, and we come up to the area, and I must have hit like half of him because he's not all the way dead. So he's like spinning in a circle. I clapped half of him, and I'm like, oh my God, Dad, maybe we can save him. And he picks up the bird by the head, and he snaps his neck to put his. And I'm just like,
no. What did
he's like,
say?
go back to the truck, boy.
Oh my goodness.
I just like walked back to the truck. So, yeah, I can only imagine like you out there. I guess I'm thinking of like how did you get to that moment, where your dad was like, was it all on you? Did you understand your weapon that and like
right.
everything you were doing from like the actual hunt to pulling the trigger and killing?
Yeah, so before hunting, I actually had been shooting guns for a few years before that. I think the first time I shot a gun, I was like probably 4.5, 5 years old. I had a BB gun. And, I was always very aware of firearm safety at a young age, and I knew how to properly respect one and handle one. And, and that goes a long way because, it's kind of like learning a language almost.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
younger you learn it, the more it really makes sense, and the more it just clicks with you the rest of your life. And so, I always had a respect and a way of understanding how to respect the firearms. And so yeah, I was really familiar with how to shoot a gun, and I think it was a 30-06 that I used. So it was a pretty big caliber, for a 7-year-old girl. And
For sure.
and I was comfortable with it. We had a lot of range days. We had a lot of fun spots to go shoot guns in fields around here, and I always enjoyed doing that at a young age. And so yeah, that part was definitely really comfortable for me. And just having my dad kind of as my mentor, okay, the animal's coming in, get ready, take your safety off, aim for just behind the front shoulder. Having that sort of mentorship, was kind of, the first of many times of learning, from an expert and learning from somebody who really knew what they were doing, which is why I still love hunting with my dad, because I always have something new to learn. And, you can always learn from somebody who's experienced in the outdoors. And to your point in your story too about like seeing, a bird that, you clipped and it's down bad. I mean, being a woman in the field of hunting, I think that's an important thing to bring up. I think the empath side of being a woman can be hard for a lot of women when they're hunting because of, situations like that. And, you know, as precise of a shooter as you can be. You might not always get that kill shot, and it's just part
Right.
of being, an outdoorsman, whether you're shooting with a bow or a rifle or a shotgun.
Wow.
There's always that chance, but
That's great
I mean,
insight.
I think, as a woman, it's something that you just learn as time goes on, and you become more aware with how important it is when you pull that trigger. When
Yeah.
you pull that trigger, you can make a really clean shot, or, you can just aim. There's always the chance that you might just get the aim if especially if you're like bird hunting. That's why you use a shotgun, so you can try
Yeah.
to pepper it. So I
Mhm.
mean, I think that that's something that a lot of women struggle with. I know my little sister has struggled with it a few times, and I've sort of been there to be there for her. You're there's a huge, spiritual part of, taking an animal's life, and, being in the field and having that honor is sort of what we call it in our family is, it's an honor when you walk up to that animal, whether it's a deer or it's a boar or it's a dove. You walk up to it and you feel some sort of connection, whatever that connection might be, and it's truly special, and it's one of my favorite parts of hunting, and there's truly nothing like it until you experience it.
Can we take a moment to sink our teeth into that a little bit? Because
Yeah,
I
there's
know
layers.
Absolutely.
most people know who Steven Ranella is because of Meat Eater, and I
Mhm.
I didn't grow up like I don't have uncles or grandfathers. I don't come from a generation of hunters, but when I've always my father was born and raised in the jungle down in South America, and so I've always had respect for animals, but I can't imagine what it's like when you're harvesting an animal to there's excuse me sort of reverence there because it is an animal given his life for whatever the purpose is, conservation, processing,
Right.
whatever it is. And that's one of the things I loved about him. But hearing you talk about it from your perspective, and I like what you said about your family, it's giving alms. uh, can you expound on that a little bit? Like, what is it like
Mhm.
if you can go back to a 7-year old Kenya? What is it like, walking up to this animal, this boar, or what is it like for 17-year-old Kenya or 23-year-old Kenya? Is there a certain level of like
Mhm.
stillness that comes over you, or is it just like, wow, I got another animal for processing? What's the process like for you emotionally and mentally?
Yeah, yeah, emotionally, at first, it's really exciting, that you finally have this opportunity when you pull up, your gun or your bow or whatever it is. In my case, it's usually a gun. When you pull it up and you've got this animal in your crosshair. I mean, you're really thinking in your head like, wow, like that's a living animal, and this is my opportunity, you know, here I go, I'm gonna take the safety off. Here's my time, because usually it's just a short window of time. It can be 5 seconds, it can be 2 seconds, sometimes it's
Yeah,
longer, but depends on what kind of hunting you're doing and the scenario. But so at first, I mean, it's really exciting and your heart really goes, and then you pull that trigger and you're like, "Oh my gosh," like, it's either like, "Oh, I missed," or it's, "Oh my gosh, I made a great shot." And
yeah,
then, you go up to that animal and you walk up to that animal, and I think seven-year-old Kenya was thinking, "Oh my gosh, like, this is wild, like, this is an animal that I just, took, and now I get to, go put this food on the table for myself and the rest of our camp, for dinner, and we're gonna have spaghetti, and, it's part of
yeah,
conservation because of this invasive species." There's a lot to it back then, but at that point, I mean, at age 7, I was like, "Wow, this is wild." And
yeah.
now, the older I get and the more I hunt, no matter what species it is, you walk up to that animal, and honestly, I always say a little prayer, and I always thank the
Wow.
Lord for, the
Wow.
moment, and being able to really be there, in the nature, in the wilderness of Wisconsin, Africa, Florida, wherever the heck I am. I mean, it's a moment where you're like, wow, like I just had this opportunity
That's
to,
awesome.
yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
you kind of touched on something that I want to talk about a little more in depth is conservation. Now, let's kind of fast forward, right? Because you really set the foundation for me in my mind of where you cut your teeth at, right? With family in the outdoor Wisconsin. Now, this is gonna go up on YouTube, and I'm sure there's people who follow you, some don't. But fast forward to now you're in Africa, right? Talk to us a little bit about your Africa trip, but in doing so, I know earlier you said you're with IOTR. I
Yeah.
want you to talk a little bit about the conservation efforts there,
Okay.
and then how your trip leading into Africa, like what was that like, and share with us a little bit of that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So IOTR, my role there, I work on a lot of different things. I wear a lot of hats in the organization. I run our social media. We're actually launching a podcast pretty soon too. So I'm in charge of that, and we do website stuff. I do membership stuff, but also a lot of grassroots advocacy on the conservation side, educating the public about, what a vote means in an election or what a
Yeah,
certain ballot initiative means. So lots of education behind it too. But basically, our main goal is to protect the right to hunt and fish in all 50 states and to make sure that there's a constitutional right to hunt and fish in every state, which we just passed Florida's. So the 24th state officially on the list. We
that's
we got
awesome.
yes on 2 passed. So that was a big deal. And I was really excited to be a part of that. Um, so that's kind of what I do at my job, and so to your question about my Africa trip, over the summer, I took a little break from all of that work, and I went over to South Africa with my siblings, my 3 siblings who are all younger than me, and my dad, and then a group of 4 really close friends. And we all spent close to 2 weeks over there,
Wow.
hunting and, taking part in conservation efforts over there. We hunted a lot of animals, I think, among the group of I think it was a group of 12 officially. Um, so across the group of 12 people, I think we took like 50 animals collectively. So, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, and we had some really cool encounters. I mean, one of our friends, found a water buck that was kind of, kicked out of his herd, and he only had 1 horn, and so he wasn't doing really well. He was kinda getting bullied, and, you know, there
It
there were
makes
some
sense. Yeah.
yeah, there were some interesting encounters we had. So, that was just one cool story, and then another cool story we had was we were out just driving around one day kinda scouting for animals, and we we actually came across an impala that was stuck in a snare from a poacher. So
Really?
yeah, so the difference between a poacher and a hunter, which a lot of people don't know the difference, so I just wanna make it clear. Poachers are people who are hunting, but they're doing it illegally without a permit, and, they're doing it in an inhumane way, like
Yeah.
through a snare, catching the animal by its ankle and then letting it suffer for, a few days before it dies, which is terrible, but and then hunting is, hunting with a license, with weapons that are ethical and, that
Yeah.
whole shebang. So that's the simplified version. But so it was a poacher's snare that we came across that was on this impala's leg, and actually the guide we were with walked right up to this impala, and, it was kinda scary to see, but he walked right up to the impala, and he had to grab him, by his antlers, basically, and then one of the other guys had to, like, actually take this snare off of the impala's leg, and, it was all cut up, and the impala obviously didn't wanna deal with it. They're like, "Who what
Of
are these
course.
humans doing?" Why but we got it off him, and he ran away healthy, and it was a young one too. It was probably a year
Wow.
old, it was just a young one that got stuck, and wow, it was, it gave me chills, like, if there weren't ethical hunters out there,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that would just go along, and it would, if
Yeah.
ethical hunters weren't out there making sure that those land areas were maintained the right way, it would be a free for all, and the poachers would impact the populations in ways that nobody likes to see. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a cool story. Now, you said between the 12 of y'all, you guys processed about 50 animals.
yeah.
Obviously, and this is me going out on a limb here, you guys didn't
Mhm.
bring all that meat over, right? What,
No.
you guys distribute it to the locals?
Yeah, so when we're there, we we eat some of it. We really do. It's not only fun to try it and, cool to bring home food to put on your plate, that you harvested while you're there. So we did that for most of the animals. But then the animals that we weren't able to eat all of it while we were there, we gave
Yeah.
to the local tribes, the local like small villages, the
Yeah.
basically the equivalent of a food pantry,
Yeah.
of what we have, in the States to what they have over there. And,
What's that
these
experience
people are just, I mean, talk about grateful and give
like?
you chills. These people get down on their hands and knees and thank you, and
Yeah.
they cry, and it's such a it's a great experience. There's
Yeah.
nothing like it, and they're so happy to see people, maintaining their land and maintaining, you know,
You know,
conservation in their area the way that it should be.
the it's interesting the dichotomy that exists, right? Here in the States, um, there is a lot of backlash for hunters and outdoorsmen, right? Oh,
Mhm.
you're killing the animal. Like, it's,
Yeah,
we hear them left and right all the time. It's amazing to go to a country where there isn't grocery store on every corner. There isn't a meat market
yeah,
every few miles, and to see the difference between the appreciation levels and really the luxuries that we have here in this great country is amazing. And I hear that through your story. I hear that your passion for
yeah,
animals not only has led you to conservation, but led you to do even humanitarian work in the world. And that's really fascinating and mind-blowing, because I mean, for someone like me, if you were to tell me 20 years ago, hey man, I would be like, I don't know anything about that. Like, I go to the grocery store, right? But and that's, I
mhm,
think there's that massive disconnect, because I think it was, when was it, in the 50s or 60s, when mass food, like, just became a thing, like just producing
yeah,
meats on mass levels. And 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it was, no, you got to go out and you either raise up the animals or you hunt them down. So that's
yeah,
really cool to hear your story. And that kind of leads back around to like the whole thing with IOTR, right? Like, it is conservation
mhm,
driven. It is about making people
yeah,
aware, and how it positively impacts the outdoors, right?
yeah, absolutely. And our namesake Teddy Roosevelt, I mean, he worked really hard on, conserving a ton of land and a ton of
Yeah.
national parks and monuments all over our beautiful
Just
country.
wave if y'all need me. Sorry.
And
All right.
and he saved all of this land, and he really set the foundation for conservation across, the United States of America. So we're just trying to honor his legacy and really bring forward that, protecting what matters most to us. And in my case, that's hunting and fishing, and the land, that I get to go out on, as often as possible and be away from industrialization and you
Yeah,
know, and like you said, like it also helps you realize, you know, the luxury of a grocery store and the luxury of, you know, here's $20, you know, give me my meat, you know, give me my whatever, my vegetables even. I mean, harvesting
yeah.
vegetables is not simple either. So,
No, not at
I
all.
mean, yeah, and so it gives you a whole new perspective, you know, when you're cooking your spaghetti and it's something that you harvested that morning or you harvested, you know, last season. It's truly special and it's something that I do day in and day out. I mean, I don't buy much meat from the grocery store. If I do, it's chicken or like sometimes like chicken nuggets. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love chicken nuggets. Can't go wrong with that. But otherwise otherwise I have like a lot of venison in my freezer. I mean, I use it for everything. I use it for tacos, spaghetti, and it's all venison that I harvested or you know that my sister harvested. I mean, the bison, one of these bison, I mean, it's been feeding us for, oh, I think 2 years now. She shot a really nice bison out. She drew a really cool tag, out in the I think the Dakotas somewhere. I wasn't with her, but she shot a really cool bison, and we make bison burgers all the time out of it, and it's just, you know, it's cool because it's you know, she harvested it. She put that food on our table, so and it
So
tastes way better.
I am a foodie, and I know
Oh,
before we started recording this podcast, I was telling Rob a little bit, but we have the annual fair that comes down. It's actually down this month, January, but a few years ago, you know, they'll publish who's on the food circuit for this year's show, and this was
oh,
I
cool.
don't know maybe 5 years ago, and I saw a company that says, "Come try a bison burger from Wisconsin." I was looking and I was like, "Nah." And I found their website, and it was like very, very premature website. You could tell it was like this is what they love doing. They're harvesting animals. Like, let's just put it out there. And so,
Yeah.
you know, my wife and kids were like, "Can we go, to, you know, to the?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's hit it." And I said, "But babe, we gotta go to this food truck." She's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because they're from Wisconsin, and it's bison burgers they're selling." She goes, "Bison burgers? Like, you're gonna eat that?" I was like, "Hell yeah." So we get there, and I said, "Hey man, are you really like selling bison burgers?" He goes, "Oh yeah." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that accent, you can't miss that accent." I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, yeah, I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, yeah, give me two of them. He goes, "All right." And me and my wife ate them, and oh man, they were so good. So those bison back there on the wall, that's
Mhm.
you're in your house, right?
Yeah, this is my house. This is my dad's house, not my house, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm up north right now. This is my childhood home that I grew up in. But yeah, he
I mean,
shot
because
one of those. He shot one of those.
What
I don't know which
what
one,
else
and then my sister
what else
shot
do you
another
guys
one.
like have back there?
There's
what is
there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yo,
Yeah.
Breeze, hit a
We
horn.
oh
Breeze,
what?
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Hold on. I'm not ready.
wow. That elephant head? Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm too.
Yeah. So
Wrong
There we
horn.
go.
There it is, the DJ horn.
there you go.
Not the Price is Right
Yeah,
loser
so my
horn.
dad is
Wow.
he's 54 and he's been hunting since, you know, he since I started hunting too, and he got the bug and has been hunting all over the world. He's been really involved with Safari Club International, which is a big hunting conservation
Yeah,
organization. Um, so he got really into that over time and you know, being around him, being so passionate about conservation efforts really fueled my fire too, because, you know, it's so much more than just being out in a tree stand and, you know, pulling a trigger. There's a lot more to it. You know,
yeah.
there's a lot of ins and outs and a lot of things you need to educate yourself on. And I really enjoyed that, which has sort of brought me to the career path that I've been down on. I went to school in Wisconsin at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I was a Badger. I
Nice.
did grad school there and studied policy in grad school and fell in love with it and went the conservation route. I worked for the NRA right out of grad school, and then AFP, which is Americans for Prosperity, was my next gig, and now here I am at IOTR, and I just love it. It's truly where all my passion is hunting and fishing, and to be able to apply that to my everyday life is great. And um being around my dad is really special too, because he's super passionate about it, and now he actually does it for a living too. He has a company called Link's Wild Safaris, where he books hunts, but he's also an outfitter. So Tanzania is one of our top places that we book hunts through. We have a whole operation there, the largest operator in Tanzania. So we send a lot of clients there. He sends clients to Russia. He sends clients all over the place. And he's got a pretty cool booth at SCI and Dallas Safari Club every year. Link's Wild Safaris. Check it out.
So
that's a pretty cool place too.
I've heard about the Dallas
Safari
Safari
Club.
That's a good event, the Dallas Safari Club.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm actually gonna go there in 2 days. I'm flying out to Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, it's right. It's
we
right
have a
now.
booth there.
Yeah, it's before SHOT. Yep.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so we'll have an IOTR booth there too. It's our first time ever having a booth at a big show, so we're excited about that. That's where you can find me. But my dad will have a booth there too, and then at SCI too. So
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of a cool world to grow up in.
The first time, well, the first time we met, I mean, we met you at the Poma meetup, yeah, and which was an awesome event. And I think that first time we could see, now hearing your story and your family story and understanding a little more about where that passion comes from. It's awesome to hear, because we could see that right off the jump when we met you.
Now,
I'm wondering if sometimes if you're sitting in that room late night, does it look like that bison? Like some of them animals are like, I remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, well, have you seen Night at the Museum? It kind of gives that vibe.
When you did the pan, I was like,
yeah, it's a little creepy sometimes, but honestly, I'm just so used to it. Like I said, I grew up in this house. I was 7 when we officially moved into it. So I mean, it's really all I've ever known. And I'd come in here and drink coffee every morning in high school, and just another day, I guess. So I'm just used to it. They don't scare me too much.
Like, it's tough to be, well, maybe this is just my take on it, but like hunting is one of those things that you're not on the fence about, right? You're either from that first time you kill something, like you said, you had an experience with it, and you automatically know, okay, I'm gonna have a passion for this,
right?
Or you go the other way, like you said. There's some people that probably get to that part of it and say, yeah, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can, take an animal's life and then have to do everything, because you don't, just like you said, you don't. And I'm just thinking for maybe like the average person outside of the space, thinking about what you do with the animal, how much time that takes, harvesting it. I know you spoke on that. I'm just saying, like, that's, I think, oh, let's go get a gun and go hunting, but it's like so much more that goes into that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's when you get out there and you're all set up to go hunting, and you're sitting in your tree stand, or you're, sitting in the field, wherever you are, and then you're having fun, you're enjoying it, and then all of a sudden you do kill this animal, and you're like,
the work
crap.
Yeah.
I have all this work to do now, but that's, that's half the fun, in my opinion. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like, now it's the work, which it is a lot of work. I mean, that's another reason why it's not for everybody, because it costs a lot of money to have the equipment too, like, to have, the meat processors, the meat grinders, the right fillet knives for fish, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it just adds up over time. And so it costs a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of patience. So that weeds out a lot of people too, which is why there's a big population of people who are like, oh yeah, hunting's good, fishing's good, but I'm not gonna do it. Because it's there's a lot that goes
Labor intensive.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to put it. Yeah, labor intensive.
So what's
So
Perfect. You
your top,
nailed it.
go ahead. I got rid. This is a quick one.
go
What's
ahead.
like your top 3 animals
And
to hunt?
Oh my gosh. Wow. My favorite is probably white-tailed deer in northern Wisconsin. It is a challenge, and as the years have gone on, it becomes more and more challenging just because the wolf populations are bad up here, and to see a big buck is a lot more rare as time goes on.
wow.
Um, so I think that's one of the reasons why I love deer hunting up here is because of the challenge. But I also really love bear hunting too here. Using dogs like Walker hounds, blue tick hounds is really popular. You run the bear up a tree, and you don't always hunt them. You can just train your dogs to do that too. That's a big thing around here too. There's a lot of people who have
That's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Just the
it's pretty
visual
cool.
picturing that.
A
Yeah,
1,000-pound
it's
animal scared of four-legged beasts.
isn't that something?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's so cool, and bear meat is also delicious. My favorite way to eat it is, summer sausage or
Oh,
literally, like oh, yeah, so good.
Oh,
It's hard to beat, or just, like, in, like, beef stick form, like a beef stick that you get, but bear meat. That's a
yeah.
really good way to eat it too. So that's probably a reason I love both deer hunting and black bear hunting because the meat is so good. But, the third thing is something that I haven't done yet that I don't know if I'll even like the hunting because I haven't done it yet, but I really wanna go mountain lion hunting. I would absolutely love to go mountain lion hunting. That's something that, my little brothers actually just got done doing, and I'm so jealous. They each got a really nice mountain lion, and that's the same type of hunting as black bear hunting. You use dogs and you find a track and the dogs help you find and locate this animal, and then there you have it. So that's as far as I know, at least. They loved it, and that's what I want to do next. That's next on my list.
Man, I'd love to be your shadow for a day, and that kind of
same,
leads
same.
into my next question. I told Rob and my wife, so when we started Apex Mountain, our passion is the
Yeah.
outdoors, right? And so I told my
Mhm.
wife, like my 40s, I want to get really into hunting.
Mhm.
I want to familiarize myself with like 6.5 Creedmoor and what game is that good for, and 30 ought six,
Mhm.
what's that good for, and really get out to the range and just put time in practicing, because I think what happens when there's guys in the tactical world and other parts of the Second Amendment space and the outdoor space, when you're just venturing off, it's you train in ideal conditions, right? Like at a gun
Oh, yeah.
range, if it's indoor, it's a stationary target, paper, pop, 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 right? Where in practicality, hunting game, yeah, you might be on a range, practicing long range shots, but when you're out in the real world hunting game, it's a combination of patience. It's
Oh,
a,
yeah.
a labor of love, right? It's being able to be with yourself,
Yes.
and in God and in the massive country, and then if you get the hit, if you get the kill, now it's processing the meat, and who's going to do
Mhm.
that, and how far are you from camp. And so I think about, I'm a very tactile person and I'm very analytical, and so I think about things like all the moving parts, and I'm like, man, I would love to do that, because not only would that like feed my desire to just challenge myself for my 40s, but moreover, it'll let me put meat on a table without having to walk into, and I love Publix. But man, just something I thought of, like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
deer, bear, bison, I don't know,
Yeah.
turtle soup. So I think about that. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting, man or woman, boy or girl?
Mhm.
What are like I don't know, 3 tips that you would give somebody and where to start?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I think the first thing is figuring out, if you have the equipment and if you're a tactical person and you like guns and you like shooting guns, oh my gosh, you're halfway there, if not more, because that's, a huge step and a huge investment when it comes to the hunting world. So I'd say that's definitely the first thing, and then the next thing is like the where part. Do I have land that I can go hunt on? Do I have a friend's land that I can go hunt on, which is even better? Um, otherwise, I would say, you know, figuring out where you could go if you don't have either of those. There's public land. I mean, that's like we said with conservation and Teddy Roosevelt's efforts to conserve land and to make there be public land and there's places around where you can go hunt even if you don't own land. And then the third thing I would say is find a mentor, find somebody who does know what they're doing to some extent, whether it's they're bird hunters or they're, deer
Yeah.
hunters or, they hunt some sort of animal, they can help lead the way. And I think that's the beauty of being a hunter or being a fisherman. There's always somebody in the world who's willing to take you under their wing. If not somebody, everybody, honestly. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows everybody in the hunting world and we're all friends and we all want to pass on the tradition and to save that tradition and honor that tradition for future generations. And that's part of why I care so much about conservation and why I play the role I play in IOTR and in the conservation world is because I want my kids and my kids' kids to be able to do what I've been doing. So I
Yep.
think that's honestly, that might be number one, actually. I the other two things I said are important, but I think the mentorship part is definitely number one. If you can find somebody to take some advice from and kind of go under their wing, that's huge. And that's luckily that's been my dad for me. And hopefully I can be that for somebody someday. I try to bring friends in the woods with me all the time who haven't been hunters or, you know, bring people fishing for their first time. And most of the time they love it and they want to keep coming and they want to keep
Yeah.
learning more. All you have to do is bring them along and they'll either love it or they won't. So I mean it's always worth a try. So it's really about, the community that
Yeah.
in the
That's it.
world of hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
You got a
awesome.
couple South Florida dudes down to go.
Oh
Hunting.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll be out there
I
with
love it.
a pea shooter. Where is it?
It's like -8 out there. We're frozen under some tree. She's like, "What?"
Where you guys at? We're like, "We're here."
I
Yeah,
think I love hearing you talk about the relationship of it as well,
Yeah.
mhm.
and with the outdoors, and because some of my earliest memories, which I didn't appreciate as much as a kid, was sitting in a tree stand waiting for deer for hours,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
would look at my dad, just this stoic man, eating like sardines out of a can and not moving an inch for, I'm just like, how does he do this? And now I have such an appreciation for that because
Yeah.
like there's so much chaos, control, just things going on, and life going on that I understand now and appreciate that was his time to unplug and get into
Yeah.
100%.
and why he loved doing that. So it's cool because I'm at that place in my life now where I'm like, I want to get outdoors. Like you said, I want to get outdoors. We want to go.
Yeah.
We have it here. I had it. I just don't think I really fully appreciated it as a kid. But to
Yeah.
your point, thank God I had like my father that taught me those fundamentals. Gun safety, how to hold
Absolutely.
a gun, carry a gun, what a gun can do. Hunting and just the patience that it takes to do a lot of those
Yeah.
things. So
Speaking of
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's so important.
unplugging, Breezy, plug us up. Let's hear what you
Yeah, what do
made.
we got? I might have cooked up a little something here. I'll let you two be the judge of this.
That's whack. I can't even hear it.
I don't know.
You told me. You told me. So I entered you.
Oh wow!
Ooh, I love it.
Of course. I mean, of course. That's
All right.
that's pretty damn good. It's almost like
Yeah, it
it's
was.
almost like you're a producer. That's talent.
I spitball from here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
A little something. But
well,
real
Kenia,
quick,
go ahead.
I'll never forget because it's one of those memories that's seared into my mind. Is the first time I saw a deer, and like how this physical specimen that they are. It was like 3 of them. They leaped over a fence doing like 30 miles an hour. That was like, I mean, it was unreal as a little kid because you just,
Oh yeah.
most of the video or the things I saw, like they're just kind of prancing, like looking in the woods, and then you see them like running full speed, and they're just straight muscle jumping over these fences that are 2 times taller than you. I was like, what's going on here? I was an
Yeah,
animal.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
just that
cool
I
to
think that
see it.
appreciation for being right up close to it. You know, it was like my son and I saw a moose when we were in Maine. Oh, we weren't hunting, we were golfing.
Oh, cool.
And a moose ran across, and we're just like, this thing was just like this majestic being of an animal that was like 20, and he looked at us like, and then just kept it moving. And you know, again, we're too set. Most we might see down here is a couple of iguanas, some raccoons, alligator, tortoise, but we don't have like. I mean, you can hunt deer down here, but it's a different experience.
Different, yeah.
When you're right up there with them, you know, and you see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? My bad. You were about to ask something.
No, I was just gonna say I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for pouring so much into us and just letting people know about sort of your journey and what led you to conservation. And it's cool to see how passionate you are. And it's cool, honestly, it's cool to hear how young you are and see how your soul is on fire with purpose. And I wish you nothing but success. I know that the year's just starting. I hope 2025 you get to hit that mountain lion. And yeah, we just appreciate you. And if you want, where can people follow you, find you, and stay up to date with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can look me up. It's at Kenia. My name is not spelled like the country. It's Kenia. You can thank my mom for that. I don't know why she did that, but Kenia and then Link. You can find me on everything pretty much. I'm really active on Instagram though. So but yeah, and I'm really grateful that I was on the show. Thanks for having me. It was an honor to talk with you guys and to be on your show and to chat with you guys and catch up. I hope I'll see you guys again at POMA. And maybe a few other shows along the way. I know.
Maybe we just pop up on you up there and in the woods of Wisconsin, like.
Yeah, maybe you can come ice fishing up here, but you might have to buy some gear. I don't know if you guys are going to be equipped for that quite as Floridians.
You mean my Walmart? Do it?
You might have to double layer that puppy, brother.
Luckily, we do it in style. We put all the space heaters out, and you know it's a warm experience out there for the most part.
Right, pitching it. That's a good thing. Yeah,
warm experience.
Well, don't hang up.
For having me.
So we can talk a little after this, just really quick.
Okay, sounds
mission
good.
passed, right?
Yeah, mission passed.
Absolutely.
There we go. Mission passed.